Hello, and welcome back to the Mindful Zone. I'm so glad you're here today because we're about to embark on a journey that I believe will resonate deeply with many of you. This is a space where we slow down, breathe deeply, and explore ways to live more intentionally, peacefully, and joyfully. And today's topic, how to stop making too much of everything, is one that touches all of us at some point in our lives. Have you ever found yourself spiraling into overthinking? Maybe it was after someone gave you a slightly offhand comment, or perhaps it was triggered by an email you forgot to send. Suddenly, your mind starts racing, imagining worst-case scenarios, replaying conversations, or catastrophizing situations that haven't even happened yet. It happens to all of us. Life can feel overwhelming when we make mountains out of molehills, or worse, create entire mountain ranges where there should only be plains. But here's the good news, there are tools available to help us step out of this cycle. Today we'll be diving into teachings from Buddhism, meditation and mindfulness practices that offer practical, accessible ways to live with greater clarity and ease. These aren't just abstract philosophies reserved for monks meditating on mountaintops. They're everyday strategies anyone can use to reduce stress, improve well-being, and cultivate a deeper connection to the present moment. Whether you're completely new to these ideas or you've been exploring them for years, this video is designed to meet you where you are. My goal is to provide warmth, accessibility, and actionable insights that you can take with you into your daily life. Together, we'll unpack how these ancient wisdom traditions can help us navigate modern challenges like anxiety, perfectionism, and burnout. Now, before we dive in, let me set the tone for what's ahead. Over the next hour, we'll explore 10 key chapters, each focusing on a specific aspect of letting go of unnecessary mental burdens, from understanding why we tend to exaggerate problems to embracing impermanence, cultivating compassion, and finding joy in the ordinary. We'll cover a wide range of topics that aim to empower you to live more fully and freely. As we move through this material, I invite you to approach it not as a lecture, but as a conversation, a shared exploration of how to bring more peace into your life. Feel free to pause whenever you need a moment to reflect or jot down thoughts. This isn't about rushing through information, it's about creating space for transformation. So, if you're ready, grab a cup of tea, settle into a comfortable spot, and let's begin. By the end of this video, my hope is that you'll walk away with a renewed sense of calm and practical tools to help you stop making too much of everything and instead start making room for what truly matters. Let's get started. Chapter 1: Why we make things bigger than they are. Let's begin by exploring why we make things bigger than they really are. Think about the last time you felt stressed or anxious. Was it about something happening right now, or was it about something that might happen, or worse, something that already happened and can't be changed? Our minds have a fascinating way of amplifying problems. In psychology, this phenomenon is often referred to as cognitive distortion, but in Buddhism, it's known as mental proliferation, the tendency for one thought to spiral into dozens of related and often exaggerated thoughts. For example, imagine you forget to reply to an important email. Your initial thought might be, "Oh no, I forgot." But then your mind takes over. What if they think I don't care? What if this affects my job? What if... You see how quickly things escalate. This habit of overthinking stems from two main sources: fear and attachment. Fear drives us to anticipate potential threats, even ones that may never materialize. Attachment pulls us toward rigid expectations of how things should be, leading to disappointment and frustration when reality doesn't align. Both forces keep us stuck in cycles of worry and dissatisfaction. But here's the liberating truth. Most of what we worry about never actually happens. Studies show that around 85% of our worries are either unfounded or far less significant than we imagine. Yet, despite knowing this intellectually, we still find ourselves caught in these patterns. Why? Because our brains are wired to prioritize survival, scanning for danger, and preparing for the worst-case scenario. While this instinct served our ancestors well in the wild, it often works against us in modern life, where the dangers we perceive are rarely life-threatening. Buddhism offers a powerful perspective on this human tendency. It teaches that suffering arises not from external events themselves, but from the stories we tell ourselves about those events. This concept is central to the Four Noble Truths, which outline the nature of suffering and the path to liberation from it. When we cling to narratives of blame, regret, or fear, we amplify our pain. But when we learn to observe our thoughts without attaching to them, we create distance between ourselves and the chaos of our minds. Mindfulness plays a crucial role in breaking free from this cycle. By training ourselves to notice our thoughts as they arise without judgment, we can catch ourselves in the act of exaggeration. Instead of getting swept away by a cascade of what-ifs, we can pause and ask, is this thought true? Is it helpful? Often, simply asking these questions deflates the power of the narrative. For instance, consider a common scenario: receiving critical feedback at work. At first glance, it might feel like a personal attack, but mindfulness invites us to step back and examine the situation objectively. Perhaps the feedback contains valuable insights that could help us grow, or maybe it reflects the other person's mood or perspective rather than a reflection of our worth. Either way, seeing the bigger picture helps us avoid blowing the situation out of proportion. Another tool we can use is reframing. Reframing involves shifting our perspective to view challenges as opportunities for growth or learning. Instead of thinking, "I messed up," we can reframe it as, "This is a chance to improve." This subtle shift doesn't erase the discomfort, but it reduces its intensity and opens up possibilities for positive action. Of course, none of this is easy. It requires practice and patience. Our habits of overthinking are deeply ingrained, shaped by years of conditioning. But every time we choose awareness over autopilot, we strengthen our ability to respond rather than react. Over time, this creates profound changes in how we experience life. To illustrate this point, let me share a personal story. A few years ago, I went through a phase where I constantly worried about minor mistakes I'd made in my interactions with others. If I stumbled over my words during a meeting or sent an email with a typo, I'd obsess about it for hours, or even days. It wasn't until I started practicing mindfulness meditation that I realized how much energy I was wasting on these trivial concerns. Slowly, I learned to acknowledge the thought, "I made a mistake," without indulging in the story around it. "Everyone thinks I'm incompetent." This simple shift freed up so much mental space and allowed me to focus on what truly mattered. If you're struggling with similar patterns, know that you're not alone. We all grapple with overthinking at times. The key is to recognize it as a habit, not a permanent state, and to approach it with kindness and curiosity. Rather than beating yourself up for having unhelpful thoughts, treat yourself with compassion. Remember, you're human, and part of being human is dealing with a wandering mind. Now let's delve deeper into why this pattern persists and how we can begin to unravel it. One reason overthinking feels so automatic is because our brains are incredibly efficient at creating associations. When something goes wrong, our minds immediately start connecting dots, searching for patterns or causes. This is useful in many contexts, for solving problems or avoiding future mistakes. It becomes problematic when we apply this same logic to situations that don't warrant such intense scrutiny. But take procrastination, for example. Many people who struggle with procrastination report feeling overwhelmed by the size of a task. They imagine every possible obstacle, every potential failure, and every criticism they might face. As a result, they delay starting altogether, believing they need to prepare for every contingency before taking action. But the truth is, perfection isn't required to begin. All that's needed is a willingness to take the first step, however imperfect it may be. Similarly, interpersonal conflicts often become magnified in our minds. A disagreement with a friend or partner can spiral into fears of abandonment or rejection. We replay conversations in our heads, analyzing tone, body language, and word choice, searching for hidden meanings that may not exist. Again, while self-reflection can be valuable, excessive rumination only deepens our distress. So how do we interrupt this cycle? One effective strategy is to develop what Buddhists call right effort. Right effort involves cultivating wholesome qualities such as patience, kindness, and equanimity, while letting go of unwholesome ones like anger, fear, and doubt. Practicing right effort means choosing where to direct our attention and energy. When we notice ourselves spiraling into overthinking, we can gently redirect our focus to something more constructive, like breathing deeply, going for a walk, or engaging in an activity that brings us joy. Another helpful practice is labeling our thoughts. Instead of identifying with them, "I am a failure," we label them as mere mental events. This is a thought about failure. This small linguistic shift creates psychological distance, allowing us to observe our thoughts without being consumed by them. Over time, this practice weakens the grip of overthinking and helps us cultivate a more balanced perspective. Let's also talk about the role of expectations. So much of our stress comes from comparing reality to an idealized version of how things should be. Whether it's expecting ourselves to perform flawlessly, assuming others will always understand us, or hoping for smooth sailing in life, these unrealistic standards set us up for disappointment. Buddhism teaches us to embrace imperfection and uncertainty, to let go of rigid expectations, and flow with the natural rhythm of life. When we release the need for control, we open ourselves to greater peace and freedom. Life becomes less about striving for perfection and more about savoring the journey. Mistakes, setbacks, and challenges are no longer seen as failures, but as opportunities to learn and grow. As we bring this chapter to a close, I want to leave you with a final reflection. Overthinking is a universal experience, but it doesn't have to define us. By understanding why we make things bigger than they are, and by practicing tools like mindfulness, reframing, and right effort, we can reclaim our mental clarity and emotional well-being. Take a moment now to reflect on your own patterns of overthinking. What situations trigger this response? How does it affect your mood, your relationships, your productivity? Simply noticing these tendencies is a powerful first step toward change. In the next chapter, we'll explore the transformative power of presence and how staying grounded in the here and now can help us break free from the grip of overthinking. Stay tuned. Chapter 2. The Power of Presence. Let's turn our attention now to one of the most profound yet accessible tools for reducing stress and finding peace. Presence. In this chapter, we'll explore what it means to be truly present, why it's so powerful, and how you can cultivate presence in your daily life, even amidst the chaos. Presence is the art of being fully here, fully engaged with whatever is happening in the moment. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But if you pause for a moment and check in with yourself, you might notice how rarely we're actually present. Our minds are often elsewhere, replaying past events, planning future ones, or lost in daydreams. And while these mental wanderings are natural, they come at a cost. When we're not present, we miss out on the richness of life unfolding right in front of us. Buddhism has long emphasized the importance of presence as a path to liberation from suffering. The Buddha taught that much of our pain arises because we live either in the past, dwelling on regrets, or in the future, anxiously anticipating what's to come. By anchoring ourselves in the present moment, we step out of this cycle of rumination and into a state of clarity and calm. Mindfulness, a practice rooted in Buddhist tradition, is one of the most effective ways to cultivate presence. At its core, mindfulness is about paying attention to the present moment without judgment. This might involve focusing on your breath, noticing sensations in your body, or simply observing your surroundings. What makes mindfulness transformative is its ability to train our awareness, helping us become observers of our thoughts rather than their prisoners. Now let's dig deeper into why presence matters so much. Imagine you're sitting down to eat a meal. If you're distracted, scrolling through your phone, thinking about work or watching TV, you might finish eating without even tasting the food. On the other hand, if you bring your full attention to the experience, the aroma, the texture, the flavors, you'll likely enjoy it far more. This same principle applies to every area of life. Whether you're having a conversation with a loved one, walking in nature, or completing a task at work, being present enhances your experience and deepens your connection to the moment. But presence isn't just about enjoyment, it also reduces stress and anxiety. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to feel overwhelmed when you're fully immersed in something? When we focus on the here and now, we give our minds a break from worrying about things beyond our control. This is especially important in today's fast-paced world, where multitasking and constant stimulation have become the norm. By choosing to slow down and be present, we create pockets of stillness that nourish our minds and bodies. To illustrate this point, consider a common scenario: driving in traffic. For many people, this is a source of frustration and stress. Thoughts like, "Why is everyone so slow?" or "I'm going to be late," dominate the mind. Now imagine approaching the same situation with presence. Instead of getting caught up in irritation, you focus on the sensation of your hands on the steering wheel, the rhythm of your breathing, or the colors of the cars around you. Suddenly the experience shifts. You may still encounter delays, but your emotional response changes. You feel calmer, more centered, and less reactive. So, how do we cultivate presence in our lives? One of the simplest and most powerful practices is mindful breathing. Breathing is always happening, which makes it an ideal anchor for our attention. To try this, find a comfortable position, whether sitting, standing, or lying down, and bring your awareness to your breath. Notice the sensation of air entering your nostrils, filling your lungs, and leaving your body. If your mind wanders, and it will, that's normal. Gently guide your focus back to your breath without judgment. Even just a few minutes of this practice can help reset your nervous system and ground you in the present moment. Another way to cultivate presence is through sensory awareness. Throughout the day, take moments to tune into your senses. What do you see, hear, feel, smell, taste? Engaging your senses helps pull your attention away from abstract thoughts and into the tangible reality of the present. For example, the next time you wash your hands, notice the temperature of the water, the scent of the soap, and the texture of your skin. These small acts of awareness build your capacity to stay present over time. It's also helpful to set reminders throughout the day to check in with yourself. Many of us go through entire days operating on autopilot, barely registering what we're doing or feeling. Setting a gentle alarm or placing sticky notes in visible places can prompt you to pause and ask, where am I right now? Am I fully present, or am I somewhere else in my mind? These little pauses add up, creating opportunities to reconnect with the moment. Of course, cultivating presence takes practice. It's not something we master overnight. It's a lifelong journey. There will be times when distractions pull you away or when emotions make it difficult to stay grounded. That's okay. Each time you return to the present moment, you strengthen your ability to remain there longer the next time. Let me share a personal story to highlight the impact of presence. A few years ago, I found myself constantly rushing through my mornings. I'd wake up, check my phone, rush through breakfast, and head out the door, all while mentally preparing for the day ahead. My mornings felt chaotic and unfulfilling. Then I decided to experiment with mindful mornings. Instead of jumping straight into tasks, I began dedicating 10 minutes to sitting quietly with a cup of tea. I focused on the warmth of the mug in my hands, the taste of the tea, and the quietness of the early hours. Over time, this small shift transformed my mornings. They became a sanctuary, a chance to start the day with intention and calm rather than chaos. If you'd like to incorporate presence into your routine, here are some practical steps to get started. Start small. Begin with just 1 minute of mindful breathing each day. Gradually increase the duration as you become more comfortable with the practice. Use anchors. Choose everyday activities like brushing your teeth, drinking water, or walking to remind yourself to be present. Practice gratitude. Take a moment to appreciate the present moment, no matter how ordinary it may seem. Gratitude naturally draws our attention to what's happening right now. Limit multitasking. While modern culture glorifies multitasking, it fragments our attention and diminishes our ability to be present. Try focusing on one thing at a time instead. Engage fully in conversations. When talking to someone, put away distractions and listen deeply. Notice their words, tone, and body language. This not only strengthens your relationships, but also keeps you anchored in the moment. As we continue to explore presence, it's worth noting that this practice isn't about achieving a particular state or outcome. It's not about getting it right or eliminating all distractions. Presence is about showing up again and again with openness and curiosity. It's about embracing life exactly as it is, without needing to change anything. One misconception about presence is that it requires silence or solitude. While those conditions can certainly support mindfulness, presence is possible in any situation, even noisy, chaotic ones. Think about parents caring for young children, healthcare workers tending to patients, or artists creating in bustling environments. These individuals demonstrate that presence isn't dependent on external circumstances, it's an internal choice. Finally, let's talk about the ripple effects of presence. When we show up fully in our own lives, we inspire others to do the same. Our presence becomes a gift not just to ourselves, but to those around us. We listen more attentively, act with greater intention, and radiate a sense of calm that positively influences our interactions. As we wrap up this chapter, I invite you to reflect on your relationship with presence. How often do you find yourself fully engaged in the moment? What barriers stand in the way of being present, and how might you begin to address them? Remember, presence isn't a destination, it's a practice. Every moment offers a new opportunity to arrive fully in your life. In the next chapter, we'll delve into the concept of impermanence, a cornerstone teaching in Buddhism, and explore how embracing change can help us stop making too much of everything. Stay tuned. Chapter 3, Embracing Impermanence. In this chapter, we're diving into one of Buddhism's most profound teachings, impermanence. This concept might sound abstract or philosophical at first, but its implications for our daily lives are deeply practical and transformative. By understanding and embracing impermanence, we can stop making too much of everything and instead find peace in the ever-changing flow of life. Let's start with the basics. What does impermanence mean? Simply put, it's the recognition that nothing stays the same forever. Not people, not situations, not emotions, not even ourselves. Everything is in constant motion, constantly evolving. While this truth might seem obvious on the surface, truly internalizing it can shift how we experience the world. In Buddhist philosophy, impermanence, or anicca, is considered one of the three marks of existence, alongside suffering, dukkha, and non-self, anatta. Together, these concepts form the foundation of Buddhist wisdom, offering insights into the nature of reality and how we can live more harmoniously within it. Impermanence teaches us that clinging to permanence, whether it's clinging to happiness, relationships, success, or even pain, leads to suffering. Why? Because when things inevitably change, as they always do, we resist or mourn their passing. But when we embrace impermanence, we learn to flow with life rather than fight against it. Now, let's explore why this matters so much in our modern lives. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed by a difficult emotion, a breakup, a failure, or a conflict with someone close to you. Did it feel like that pain would last forever? Chances are, it didn't. Even the heaviest feelings eventually pass. Yet in the moment, it's easy to believe that what we're experiencing is permanent. This belief amplifies our suffering because we forget that change is inevitable. Similarly, consider moments of joy or success. How often do we cling to those experiences, fearing they'll slip away? We might think, if only I could hold on to this feeling forever. But trying to freeze happiness in time robs us of the ability to fully appreciate it while it lasts. Instead of savoring the present moment, we become preoccupied with holding on or worrying about losing it. Embracing impermanence invites us to see both challenges and joys as transient. It reminds us that no matter how dark things may seem, they won't always be this way. And conversely, it encourages us to cherish moments of beauty and connection without attachment. Life becomes less about controlling outcomes and more about flowing with the natural rhythm of change. To illustrate this point, let me share a story. A few years ago, I went through a period of intense grief after losing someone very dear to me. At first, the pain felt unbearable, as though it would consume me entirely. I kept thinking, I'll never feel okay again. But over time, something remarkable happened. The sharp edges of my grief softened. New memories began to form. While the loss will always be a part of my story, the overwhelming sadness gradually gave way to acceptance and even gratitude for the love we shared. Looking back, I realized that accepting the impermanent nature of my emotions helped me heal. Each wave of sadness reminded me that just as it had come, it would also go. This isn't to say that embracing impermanence makes pain disappear. It doesn't. Pain is real and it deserves acknowledgement. However, recognizing that it's temporary allows us to meet it with greater compassion and resilience. Instead of resisting or denying our emotions, we can sit with them, knowing they won't define us forever. So, how do we begin to embrace impermanence in our own lives? One powerful practice is simply observing it around us. Nature provides endless examples of impermanence: the changing seasons, the rising and setting sun, the growth and decay of plants. Take a walk outside and notice these cycles. Watch how leaves fall from trees, how rivers carve new paths, how clouds drift across the sky. These observations remind us that change is an inherent part of existence, not something to fear or resist. Another way to connect with impermanence is through mindfulness meditation. During meditation, pay attention to the impermanent nature of your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations. Notice how each breath arises and passes away. Observe how thoughts come and go like clouds moving across the horizon. Over time, this practice helps us develop a sense of detachment, not in a cold or indifferent way, but in a way that frees us from clinging to or pushing away our experiences. Let's delve deeper into some specific areas where embracing impermanence can transform our lives. 1. Relationships. Relationships are perhaps the most vivid example of impermanence. People enter our lives, stay for a season, and sometimes leave. Even long-term relationships evolve over time. As individuals grow, their connections shift. When we cling to the idea that a relationship should remain exactly as it was during its happiest moments, we set ourselves up for disappointment. On the other hand, when we accept that relationships naturally ebb and flow, we create space for them to flourish authentically. For instance, friendships may fade as life circumstances change, but that doesn't diminish the value of the bond you once shared. Similarly, romantic partnerships require flexibility and openness to growth. By embracing impermanence, we honor the uniqueness of each phase of a relationship without clinging to unrealistic expectations. 2. Success and failure. Our achievements and setbacks are also impermanent. A promotion at work, a creative breakthrough, or a personal milestone, all of these are fleeting moments in the grand tapestry of life. Likewise, failures don't define us permanently. They're stepping stones, opportunities to learn and adapt. When we internalize this truth, we reduce the pressure to achieve perfection or avoid mistakes. Instead, we approach life with curiosity and humility, knowing that every experience contributes to our growth. As the saying goes, this too shall pass. Whether it's triumph or hardship, remembering this phrase can help us maintain perspective. 3. Aging and mortality. Perhaps the most challenging aspect of impermanence is confronting our own mortality. Aging is unavoidable, and death is the ultimate reminder of life's transience. While these topics can evoke fear or discomfort, they also offer an opportunity to live more fully. When we acknowledge that our time is limited, we prioritize what truly matters. We let go of trivial worries and focus on meaningful connections, passions, and contributions. Many spiritual traditions encourage reflection on mortality as a way to deepen appreciation for life. For example, in Tibetan Buddhism, practitioners engage in meditations on death to cultivate gratitude and urgency. You don't need to adopt formal practices to benefit from this mindset. Simply pausing to reflect on the fleeting nature of life can inspire profound shifts in perspective. 4. Emotions. Finally, let's talk about emotions. Our emotional states are among the most transient aspects of our experience, yet we often treat them as fixed truths, believing that if we're sad now, we'll always be sad, or if we're happy now, we must guard against losing it. Neither assumption aligns with reality. Emotions are like weather patterns. They arise, persist for a while, and then dissipate. By observing our emotions with curiosity and kindness, we can relate to them differently. Instead of identifying with anger, fear, or sadness, we can view them as temporary visitors. This perspective reduces their power over us and creates space for wiser responses. For example, if you're feeling anxious about an upcoming event, remind yourself, this anxiety is here right now, but it won't last forever. Simply naming the impermanence of your emotion can bring relief. Now let's address a common concern. Doesn't embracing impermanence lead to nihilism or apathy? Some people worry that accepting the transient nature of life will make them indifferent to striving or caring, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Embracing impermanence actually enhances our engagement with life. Knowing that moments are fleeting inspires us to treasure them more deeply. It motivates us to act with purpose and presence, rather than postponing joy or fulfillment until some imagined future point. To bring this concept home, let's explore a few practical exercises for integrating impermanence into your daily life. Daily reflection. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect on what changed throughout the day. What emotions arose? What interactions took place? What surprised you? This simple habit builds awareness of impermanence. Gratitude practice. Write down 3 things you're grateful for today, keeping in mind that these blessings are temporary. This dual awareness of gratitude and impermanence enriches your appreciation for the present moment. Mindful observation. Choose an object in your environment, a flower, a candle flame, or even your own hands, and observe its subtle changes over time. This exercise deepens your understanding of impermanence on a tangible level. Meditation on change. During meditation, visualize different phases of your life: childhood, adolescence, adulthood, old age. Reflect on how much has already changed and how much will continue to evolve. This visualization fosters acceptance of life's fluidity. As we conclude this chapter, I want to leave you with a final thought. Impermanence is not something to dread, it's a source of hope and liberation. It reminds us that no matter how stuck we feel, change is always possible. It reassures us that difficult times will pass, and it encourages us to savor the beauty of the present moment. Take a moment now to reflect on impermanence in your own life. Is there something you've been clinging to unnecessarily? Or perhaps something you've feared will never change? Allow yourself to soften around these beliefs, trusting in the natural flow of life. In the next chapter, we'll explore how letting go of perfectionism can free us from unnecessary stress and self-criticism. Stay tuned. Chapter 4. Letting go of perfectionism. In this chapter, we're diving into a topic that affects so many of us in profound ways: perfectionism. Whether it's striving for flawless performance at work, obsessing over every detail in our creative projects, or holding ourselves to impossibly high standards in our personal lives, perfectionism can weigh heavily on our minds and hearts. But here's the truth. Perfection is an illusion. It's a mirage that keeps us chasing something unattainable while robbing us of joy, peace, and self-compassion. Letting go of perfectionism isn't about lowering your standards or giving up on excellence. It's about embracing humanity, imperfection, and wholeness. Today we'll explore why perfectionism holds such power over us, how it contributes to making too much of everything, and most importantly, how we can release its grip on our lives. Why we chase perfection. To understand how to let go of perfectionism, we first need to examine why we cling to it in the first place. At its core, perfectionism often stems from fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. These fears are deeply rooted in societal conditioning, cultural expectations, and even childhood experiences. From a young age, many of us are taught to equate success with flawlessness and mistakes with inadequacy. Think about school, for example. How often were you praised for getting straight A's or criticized for anything less? Over time, these messages shape our beliefs about what it means to be worthy. We internalize the idea that our value depends on achieving perfection and that anything short of it reflects poorly on us. Social media amplifies this pressure. Platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn showcase curated highlight reels of people's lives, creating unrealistic benchmarks for comparison. Scrolling through images of seemingly perfect homes, bodies, careers, and relationships can leave us feeling inadequate, as though we're falling behind in some invisible race. But here's the catch. No one is truly perfect. What appears flawless on the surface is often the result of careful editing, selective sharing, or sheer luck. When we buy into the myth of perfection, we set ourselves up for endless frustration because we're pursuing an ideal that doesn't exist. The cost of perfectionism. While perfectionism might seem harmless or even admirable at first glance, its costs are significant. For starters, it drains our energy and creativity. Constantly striving for flawlessness leaves little room for experimentation, play, or growth. Instead of taking risks and learning from mistakes, we become paralyzed by the fear of doing something wrong. Perfectionism also wreaks havoc on our mental health. Studies show that perfectionists are more prone to anxiety, depression, burnout, and chronic stress. Why? Because they're perpetually dissatisfied. No matter how much they achieve, they always feel like they could have done better. This relentless pursuit of unattainable goals creates a cycle of self-criticism and exhaustion. On a deeper level, perfectionism disconnects us from our authentic selves. It forces us to wear masks, hiding parts of who we are out of fear of rejection or criticism. We suppress vulnerability, suppress emotions, and suppress imperfections, all in the name of appearing put together. But in doing so, we lose touch with the richness and complexity of being human. Let me share a personal story to illustrate this point. Early in my career, I was obsessed with delivering flawless presentations. I would rehearse endlessly, agonizing over every word, every pause, every gesture. If someone asked a question I hadn't anticipated, I'd panic, convinced I'd ruined everything. Looking back, I realize how much unnecessary stress I created for myself. Not only did my obsession with perfection hinder my ability to connect authentically with my audience, but it also robbed me of the joy of simply sharing ideas. It wasn't until I started practicing mindfulness and self-compassion that I began to loosen my grip on perfectionism. I learned to view mistakes not as failures, but as opportunities to grow. I discovered that people respond far more positively to authenticity than to polished facades. And most importantly, I realized that my worth isn't tied to external achievements. It's inherent, just as I am. Shifting from perfection to wholeness. So, how do we move away from perfectionism and toward wholeness? Buddhism offers a beautiful framework for this shift. Rather than striving for an unattainable ideal, it encourages us to embrace the full spectrum of our experience, the light and the shadow, the successes and the failures, the strengths and the vulnerabilities, Wholeness means accepting ourselves exactly as we are without needing to change or fix anything. Mindfulness plays a key role in this process. By observing our thoughts and behaviors non-judgmentally, we can identify when perfectionistic tendencies arise. For example, if you find yourself obsessing over a minor typo in an email, pause and ask, does this mistake really matter in the grand scheme of things? Is it worth the energy I'm expending on it? Often simply noticing the thought diffuses its power. Another powerful tool is reframing. Instead of viewing imperfections as flaws, try seeing them as evidence of effort, growth, and humanity. For instance, if you stumble during a speech, remind yourself that audiences appreciate authenticity more than robotic precision. If your house isn't spotless, celebrate the fact that you've prioritized rest or connection over cleaning. Reframing helps us rewire our mindset, transforming perceived shortcomings into sources of strength. Self-compassion is equally essential. Dr. Kristin Neff, a leading researcher in this field, defines self-compassion as treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we'd offer a close friend. When we make mistakes, instead of berating ourselves, we can acknowledge our pain and remind ourselves that everyone struggles sometimes. Self-compassion softens the harsh edges of perfectionism, replacing self-criticism with warmth and encouragement. Practical strategies for letting go of perfectionism. Now that we've explored the why and how, let's dive into some concrete strategies for letting go of perfectionism. These practices are designed to help you cultivate a healthier relationship with yourself and your work. 1. Set realistic expectations. One of the hallmarks of perfectionism is setting impossibly high standards. To counteract this tendency, practice setting realistic, achievable goals. Break large tasks into smaller steps, and give yourself permission to complete each step imperfectly. For example, if you're writing a report, focus on getting your ideas down first before worrying about grammar or formatting. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. 2. Celebrate effort, not outcomes. Shift your focus from results to effort. Did you show up today? Did you try your best? Those are victories worth celebrating regardless of the outcome. Keep a journal where you record moments of courage, persistence, or creativity, even if they didn't lead to immediate success. Over time, this habit will reinforce a growth-oriented mindset. 3. Practice saying good enough. Next time you're working on a project, challenge yourself to say good enough once you've met a reasonable standard. For instance, if you're cooking dinner, resist the urge to tweak every ingredient or presentation detail. Serve the meal as it is, knowing that the act of sharing food is more important than culinary perfection. Each time you practice saying good enough, you train your brain to prioritize completion over perfection. 4. Embrace mistakes as teachers. Instead of fearing mistakes, welcome them as opportunities to learn. When something goes wrong, ask yourself, what can I take away from this experience? How can I improve next time? This curious, open-minded approach reduces the sting of failure and fosters resilience. 5. Limit comparisons. Comparison is the fuel that feeds perfectionism. To reduce its impact, limit your exposure to social media or curate your feed to include content that inspires rather than intimidates you. Additionally, remind yourself that everyone has struggles and insecurities, even those who appear perfect online. Focus on your own journey, trusting that progress looks different for everyone. 6. Develop a mantra. Create a simple affirmation to repeat whenever perfectionism rears its head. Phrases like, done is better than perfect, I am enough as I am, or mistakes are part of growth, can serve as anchors during challenging moments. Write your mantra on sticky notes and place them where you'll see them often, your workspace, bathroom mirror, or phone lock screen. The ripple effects of letting go. When we let go of perfectionism, the benefits ripple outward into every area of our lives. Our relationships improve because we stop demanding perfection from others and allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Our productivity increases because we spend less time obsessing over details and more time taking action. Our well-being flourishes because we replace self-criticism with self-kindness, and acceptance. Moreover, letting go of perfectionism allows us to savor life more fully. When we stop chasing an unattainable ideal, we open ourselves to the beauty of the present moment. We begin to see that imperfections are not flaws, they're threads in the tapestry of life, adding texture, depth, and meaning. Take a moment now to reflect on your relationship with perfectionism. Where does it show up in your life? How does it affect your happiness, your relationships, your sense of self-worth? Simply naming these patterns is a powerful first step toward change. Closing thoughts. Letting go of perfectionism isn't easy. It requires patience, practice, and persistence. There will be days when old habits creep back in, and that's okay. Growth is rarely linear. What matters is that you keep showing up again and again, choosing wholeness over perfection. As we bring this chapter to a close, I invite you to experiment with one of the strategies we discussed today. Whether it's setting realistic expectations, celebrating effort, or embracing mistakes, pick one area where you can ease up on perfectionism. Notice how it feels to let go, even just a little. In the next chapter, we'll explore the transformative power of compassion for ourselves and others, and how cultivating loving kindness can help us stop making too much of everything. Stay tuned. Chapter 5. Cultivating Compassion. In this chapter, we're diving into one of the most transformative practices we can bring into our lives: compassion. Compassion is more than just feeling sympathy for others. It's an active, intentional practice of kindness, understanding, and care that extends not only outward to those around us, but also inward to ourselves. When we cultivate compassion, we create a foundation for peace, connection, and resilience. Let's begin by exploring why compassion matters so much and how it can help us stop making too much of everything. Have you ever noticed how self-criticism amplifies stress, or how judgment toward others creates unnecessary tension? These reactions often stem from a lack of compassion both for ourselves and for those around us. By nurturing compassion, we soften our hearts, reduce suffering, and open ourselves to deeper joy and fulfillment. What is compassion? At its core, compassion is the ability to recognize suffering, whether it's our own or someone else's, and respond with care and kindness. It's not about fixing problems or offering solutions. It's about being present with pain and offering support in whatever form feels appropriate. In Buddhism, compassion, karuna, is considered one of the Brahmaviharas, or divine abodes, qualities of mind that lead to happiness and liberation. Alongside loving kindness, metta, sympathetic joy, mudita, and equanimity, upekkha, compassion, forms the bedrock of ethical and spiritual development. Together, these practices help us transcend ego-driven concerns and connect with the shared humanity that binds us all. Compassion has two primary dimensions. Self-compassion, treating ourselves with gentleness and understanding during difficult times. Other-directed compassion, extending empathy and kindness to those around us, including strangers, acquaintances, and even those who challenge us. Both dimensions are equally important. Without self-compassion, we risk burning out or becoming resentful. Without other-directed compassion, we isolate ourselves and perpetuate cycles of judgment and conflict. Balancing these two aspects allows us to live with greater harmony and purpose. The science behind compassion. Modern research supports what ancient wisdom traditions have long known. Compassion benefits both individuals and communities. Studies show that practicing compassion reduces stress, boosts immune function, improves relationships, and enhances overall well-being. Neuroscientific findings reveal that acts of kindness activate the brain's reward centers, releasing feel-good hormones like oxytocin and serotonin. Over time, these biochemical changes rewire our brains, making us more inclined toward positive emotions and behaviors. Interestingly, compassion doesn't just benefit the recipient, it benefits the giver as well. Helping others, even in small ways, creates a sense of meaning and connection that counters feelings of loneliness or isolation. This phenomenon is sometimes referred to as the helper's high, a natural boost in mood that comes from contributing to someone else's well-being. However, cultivating compassion isn't always easy. Many of us struggle with ingrained habits of self-judgment, comparison, or resentment. These patterns can make it challenging to access compassion when we need it most. But with practice, we can train our minds to respond with kindness rather than criticism, fostering greater inner peace and outer harmony. Why self-compassion matters. Before we explore how to extend compassion to others, let's first talk about self-compassion. For many people, showing kindness to themselves feels foreign or indulgent. We've been conditioned to believe that self-criticism motivates growth, while self-kindness leads to laziness or complacency. Yet, research tells a different story. Dr. Kristin Neff, a pioneer in the field of self-compassion, has shown that treating ourselves with warmth and understanding actually enhances motivation, creativity, and resilience. Self-compassion involves three key components. Mindfulness, acknowledging our pain without exaggerating or minimizing it. Common humanity, recognizing that suffering is part of the human experience. We're not alone in our struggles. Self-kindness, offering ourselves the same care and support we'd give to a dear friend. Imagine you fail at something important, a job interview, a creative project, or a personal goal, and instead of berating yourself, "I'm such a failure," self-compassion invites you to acknowledge your disappointment, "This hurts," and remind yourself that setbacks happen to everyone. "I'm not the only one who struggles." From there, you can offer words of encouragement. "You'll learn from this and try again." This shift in perspective reduces shame and increases determination. To illustrate the power of self-compassion, let me share a personal story. A few years ago, I went through a period of intense self-doubt after receiving negative feedback on a project I had poured my heart into. At first, I spiraled into self-criticism, convinced that I wasn't good enough. But then I remembered the principles of self-compassion. I allowed myself to feel the pain of rejection without attaching to it. I reminded myself that everyone experiences failure, no matter how successful they appear. And I spoke to myself with kindness, acknowledging my effort and encouraging myself to keep going. That moment marked a turning point, not just for that project, but for how I approached challenges moving forward. Extending compassion to others. While self-compassion lays the groundwork for healing and growth, extending compassion to others deepens our sense of interconnectedness. When we view the world through a lens of empathy, we see beyond surface-level differences and recognize the shared vulnerabilities that unite us. One powerful way to cultivate other-directed compassion is through metta meditation, also known as loving-kindness practice. Metta involves silently repeating phrases of goodwill toward ourselves, loved ones, acquaintances, and even those who challenge us. Here's a simple version of the practice. Begin by sitting comfortably and taking a few deep breaths. Silently repeat the following phrases, directing them first toward yourself. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease. Next, picture someone you love, a family member, friend, or mentor, and direct the phrases toward them. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. Gradually expand your circle of compassion to include neutral people, like a neighbor or co-worker, difficult people, someone who challenges you, and finally, all beings everywhere. Over time, metta meditation softens the barriers we place between ourselves and others. It reminds us that everyone, regardless of their actions or circumstances, desires happiness and freedom from suffering. Another way to extend compassion is through small, everyday gestures. Hold the door for someone, smile at a passerby, listen attentively when a friend shares their struggles. These acts may seem insignificant, but they ripple outward, creating waves of positivity that touch countless lives. Challenging situations and compassion. Of course, compassion isn't always straightforward. There will be times when it feels impossible to muster kindness for ourselves or others. Perhaps someone has hurt us deeply, or maybe we're grappling with anger, frustration, or betrayal. In these moments, forcing compassion can feel disingenuous or even harmful. Instead of rushing to forgive or overlook harm, it's important to honor our feelings, and set boundaries as needed. Compassion doesn't mean tolerating mistreatment or excusing wrongdoing. It means approaching difficult situations with clarity, courage, and care for ourselves and others. For example, imagine a colleague consistently interrupts you during meetings. While compassion might prompt you to consider their perspective, perhaps they're eager to contribute or unaware of their behavior, it also empowers you to assertively address the issue. You might say something like, "I've noticed I haven't had a chance to finish my thoughts. Could we work together to ensure everyone's voice is heard?" This approach balances empathy with assertiveness, fostering mutual respect and understanding. Similarly, when dealing with our own mistakes or shortcomings, compassion allows us to hold ourselves accountable without resorting to harsh self-judgment. We can acknowledge areas for improvement while affirming our inherent worth. Practical strategies for cultivating compassion. Now that we've explored the theory behind compassion, let's dive into some practical strategies for integrating it into daily life. These exercises are designed to help you nurture self-compassion and extend kindness to others. 1. Practice self-compassionate journaling. Set aside a few minutes each day to write about your experiences with honesty and kindness. If you're struggling with something, describe the situation objectively, then offer yourself words of comfort. For example, "Today I felt overwhelmed by my workload. It's okay to feel this way. I'm doing my best. I trust that I'll find a way forward." 2. Create a compassionate mantra. Choose a phrase that resonates with you and repeat it whenever you're facing difficulty. Examples include, "May I meet this moment with grace. I am worthy of love and belonging. Everyone deserves compassion, including me." 3. Perform random acts of kindness. Challenge yourself to perform one act of kindness each day. It could be as simple as sending a thoughtful text, leaving a generous tip, or volunteering your time. Pay attention to how these actions affect your mood and outlook. 4. Reflect on shared humanity. When you encounter someone whose behavior frustrates or confuses you, take a moment to reflect on their humanity. Remind yourself that, like you, they're navigating challenges, fears, and desires. This perspective fosters empathy and reduces judgment. 5. Practice forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior. It means releasing the grip of resentment so you can move forward freely. Start by forgiving minor offenses, gradually working toward larger ones. Use phrases like, "I forgive myself for holding on to this pain. I release the need to punish or blame." The ripple effects of compassion. Cultivating compassion transforms not only our individual lives, but also the world around us. When we treat ourselves and others with kindness, we inspire others to do the same. Compassion becomes contagious, spreading from person to person until entire communities are uplifted. On a personal level, compassion reduces stress, fosters resilience, and enhances emotional intelligence. It helps us navigate conflicts with grace and respond to adversity with strength. Professionally, compassionate leaders build trust, collaboration, and loyalty within their teams. Socially, compassionate societies prioritize equity, justice, and collective well-being. Ultimately, compassion reminds us that we're never truly alone. No matter how isolated or misunderstood we may feel, there's always someone else who shares our struggles, or who would stand beside us if given the chance. By leaning into compassion, we create bridges of connection that sustain us through life's ups and downs. Take a moment now to reflect on your relationship with compassion. Where do you excel at showing kindness to yourself or others? Where could you grow? Simply noticing these patterns is a step toward greater awareness and change. Closing thoughts. Cultivating compassion is a lifelong journey, not a destination. There will be days when it flows effortlessly and days when it feels impossibly hard. But every effort counts. Every act of kindness ripples outward, touching lives in ways we may never fully understand. As we close this chapter, I invite you to commit to one small act of compassion today, whether it's speaking gently to yourself, reaching out to a friend, or simply smiling at a stranger. Notice how it feels to choose kindness. Let this be the beginning of a practice that enriches your life and the lives of those around you. In the next chapter, we'll explore the role of gratitude and how focusing on abundance can help us stop making too much of scarcity. Stay tuned. Chapter 6: The Role of Gratitude. In this chapter, we're diving into one of the most powerful tools for cultivating peace and perspective: gratitude. Gratitude is more than just saying thank you. It's a profound practice of shifting our focus from what's lacking to what's abundant. When we embrace gratitude, we stop making too much of scarcity and instead celebrate the richness of life, even in its simplest forms. Gratitude has been celebrated across cultures, religions, and philosophies as a cornerstone of well-being. From ancient spiritual teachings to modern scientific research, the benefits of gratitude are undeniable. Yet, despite its simplicity, it can be surprisingly challenging to cultivate, especially when we're caught up in stress, comparison, or dissatisfaction. Today, we'll explore why gratitude matters so much, how it helps us reframe our experiences, and how we can integrate it into our daily lives in meaningful ways. Why gratitude matters. To understand the transformative power of gratitude, let's first examine why it's so impactful. At its essence, gratitude shifts our attention. Instead of focusing on problems, regrets, or unmet desires, gratitude invites us to notice and appreciate the blessings that already exist. This shift doesn't erase challenges, but it changes how we relate to them. Consider this: when we dwell on what's missing, we amplify feelings of lack and discontent. We might think, if only I had a better job, a bigger house, or more recognition, I'd finally be happy. But happiness tied to external conditions is fleeting. As soon as one desire is fulfilled, another takes its place. Gratitude breaks this cycle by reminding us that joy isn't dependent on acquiring more. It's available right now in the present moment. Research supports this idea. Studies show that practicing gratitude improves mental health, strengthens relationships, boosts resilience, and even enhances physical well-being. People who regularly express gratitude report higher levels of optimism, lower rates of depression, and greater overall satisfaction with life. Neuroscience reveals that gratitude activates regions of the brain associated with reward, empathy, and social bonding, reinforcing positive emotions and behaviors over time. But here's the key. Gratitude isn't about ignoring difficulties or pretending everything is perfect. It's about acknowledging pain while simultaneously recognizing the good that coexists alongside it. For example, someone going through a breakup might feel heartbroken, but they could also be grateful for the lessons learned, the support of friends, or the opportunity to grow stronger. Gratitude allows us to hold space for both light and shadow, creating balance and perspective. The science behind gratitude. Modern science has shed light on why gratitude works so well. Researchers like Dr. Robert Emmons, a leading expert on gratitude, have identified several mechanisms through which gratitude enhances well-being. Rewiring the brain. Practicing gratitude stimulates the production of dopamine and serotonin, neurotransmitters responsible for feelings of happiness and contentment. Over time, these biochemical changes reinforce neural pathways associated with positivity. Reducing stress. Gratitude lowers cortisol levels, helping us manage stress more effectively. By focusing on what's going well, we reduce anxiety about what isn't, strengthening relationships. Expressing gratitude fosters connection and trust. When we thank others sincerely, we deepen our bonds and create a sense of mutual appreciation, building resilience. Gratitude helps us reframe adversity as temporary and surmountable. Even in tough times, finding something to be thankful for reminds us that life still holds beauty and meaning. These findings align beautifully with Buddhist teachings, which emphasize the importance of cultivating gratitude as a way to counteract attachment and aversion. By appreciating what we have, we loosen our grip on craving and diminish the suffering caused by clinging to impermanent things. How gratitude transforms our perspective. One of the most remarkable aspects of gratitude is its ability to transform how we perceive the world. When we practice gratitude consistently, we begin to see abundance where we once saw scarcity. This shift in mindset affects every area of our lives, from our relationships to our careers to our inner dialogue. For instance, imagine waking up on a rainy day. Without gratitude, you might grumble about the weather, wishing for sunshine instead. But with gratitude, you might notice the soothing rhythm of the rain, the way it nourishes plants, or the cozy atmosphere it creates indoors. Suddenly, the same situation becomes an opportunity for appreciation rather than frustration. Similarly, gratitude transforms how we view ourselves. Many of us fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others, believing we're not smart enough, successful enough, or attractive enough. Gratitude counters this tendency by drawing our attention to our strengths, talents, and blessings. It reminds us that we already possess everything we need to live fully and authentically. To illustrate this point, let me share a personal story. A few years ago, I went through a period of intense self-doubt after facing setbacks in my career. I felt stuck, unsure of my next steps, and overwhelmed by uncertainty. One day, a friend suggested keeping a gratitude journal. Skeptical but willing to try anything, I started writing down 3 things I was grateful for each evening. Some days the entries were mundane: a warm cup of tea, a kind word from a stranger, a beautiful sunset. Other days they were deeper reflections on my health, resilience, or loved ones. Over time, something incredible happened. My mindset began to shift. Instead of fixating on what I lacked, I started noticing the abundance around me. This newfound awareness gave me the courage and clarity to take bold steps forward, ultimately leading to new opportunities and growth. Practical ways to cultivate gratitude. Now that we've explored the why behind gratitude, let's delve into the how. Here are some practical strategies for integrating gratitude into your daily routine. 1. Keep a gratitude journal. One of the most effective ways to cultivate gratitude is by keeping a journal. Each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be monumental. They could be as simple as a delicious meal, a funny conversation, or a restful night's sleep. Over time, this practice trains your brain to scan for positives rather than negatives. 2. Practice gratitude meditation. Set aside a few minutes each day for a guided gratitude meditation. Begin by focusing on your breath, then bring to mind people, places, or experiences you're thankful for. Visualize their presence vividly, allowing feelings of warmth and appreciation to fill your body. End the meditation by silently repeating phrases like, "I am grateful for the love in my life. I am grateful for the challenges that help me grow. I am grateful for the beauty of this moment." 3. Express gratitude to others. Take time to thank the people who enrich your life. Write a heartfelt letter to someone who's made a difference. Send a thoughtful text, or simply say thank you face to face. Be specific about what you appreciate. For example, "I'm so grateful for your patience and encouragement during a tough time." These expressions of gratitude strengthen relationships and foster deeper connections. 4. Create a gratitude jar. Find a jar and some slips of paper. Whenever something happens that you're grateful for, jot it down and drop it in the jar. On New Year's Eve or any special occasion, empty the jar and read through your notes. This tangible reminder of all the good in your life can be incredibly uplifting. Use gratitude prompts. Sometimes inspiration strikes, other times we need a nudge. Try using prompts to spark gratitude. Examples include, "What's something small that brought you joy today? Who has supported you recently and how did they make a difference? What's a challenge you faced that taught you something valuable?" 6. Reframe challenges with gratitude. When facing difficulties, ask yourself, "What can I learn from this experience?" How has it helped me grow? While it may not feel natural at first, reframing challenges through a lens of gratitude builds resilience and perspective. Overcoming barriers to gratitude. Despite its benefits, practicing gratitude isn't always easy. There will be days when negativity feels overwhelming and gratitude seems out of reach. If you find yourself struggling, remember that it's okay. It's part of the process. Here are some common barriers to gratitude and how to overcome them. 1. Comparison. Social media often fuels comparisons, making it hard to feel grateful for what we have. To combat this, limit your screen time or curate your feed to include content that inspires gratitude rather than envy. Additionally, remind yourself that everyone faces struggles, regardless of appearances. 2. Habitual negativity. Years of negative thinking can make gratitude feel forced or unnatural. Start small. Focus on one thing you're grateful for each day, no matter how minor. Gradually, your brain will adapt and gratitude will flow more easily. 3. Difficult circumstances. During times of hardship, gratitude might feel impossible. In these moments, focus on the smallest blessings, a supportive friend, a comforting meal, or even the fact that you're alive to experience another day. Tiny sparks of gratitude can ignite hope in the darkest times, the ripple effects of gratitude. When we embrace gratitude, its impact extends far beyond ourselves. Like compassion, gratitude is contagious. It inspires others to adopt a similar mindset. When we express thanks sincerely, we create a culture of appreciation that ripples outward, touching countless lives. On a personal level, gratitude fosters contentment, reduces stress, and enhances emotional intelligence. Professionally, grateful individuals build stronger teams, resolve conflicts more effectively, and inspire loyalty through genuine appreciation. Socially, gratitude promotes kindness, generosity, and unity, bridging divides and fostering collective well-being. Ultimately, gratitude reminds us that life is a gift, not something to be taken for granted. Whether we're marveling at the vastness of the sky, cherishing a quiet moment with a loved one, or savoring the taste of a favorite food, gratitude invites us to slow down and truly experience the miracle of existence. Take a moment now to reflect on your relationship with gratitude. Where do you naturally feel appreciation? Where could you invite more gratitude into your life? Simply noticing these patterns is a step toward greater awareness and transformation. Closing thoughts. Cultivating gratitude is a practice, not a destination. There will be days when it flows effortlessly and days when it feels impossibly hard, but every effort counts. Every moment of appreciation adds to the tapestry of a life lived fully and joyfully. As we close this chapter, I invite you to commit to one small act of gratitude today. Write in a journal, thank someone who matters to you, or simply pause to notice the beauty around you. Let this be the beginning of a practice that enriches your life and the lives of those around you. In the next chapter, we'll explore the art of simplifying your life and how letting go of excess can help you stop making too much of complexity. Stay tuned. Chapter 7, Simplifying Your Life. In this chapter, we're diving into one of the most liberating practices you can embrace, simplifying your life. Simplicity is not about deprivation or minimalism as a trend. It's about creating space for what truly matters by letting go of what doesn't. When we simplify, we stop making too much of clutter, both physical and mental, and instead focus on clarity, peace, and purpose. In today's fast-paced, consumer-driven world, simplicity feels countercultural. We're bombarded with messages telling us that more is better, more possessions, more achievements, more experiences, but often these pursuits leave us feeling overwhelmed, scattered, and disconnected from ourselves. By intentionally choosing less, we reclaim our time, energy, and attention, allowing us to live with greater intention and joy. Let's explore why simplicity matters so much, how it helps us reduce stress, and practical steps for integrating simplicity into every aspect of your life. Why simplicity matters. To understand why simplifying is so transformative, let's start with a fundamental truth. External clutter mirrors internal chaos. Think about it. When your physical environment is messy, your mind often feels cluttered too. Unfinished tasks pile up, decisions feel overwhelming, and distractions pull you in countless directions. Simplifying creates order, which in turn fosters calm. Simplicity also aligns beautifully with Buddhist teachings. One of the core principles of Buddhism is the middle way, a path of moderation that avoids extremes. This philosophy encourages us to find balance between indulgence and asceticism, between attachment and aversion. By simplifying, we embody the middle way, letting go of excess while still honoring what nourishes and sustains us. Moreover, simplicity counters the myth of more. Society tells us that happiness lies in acquiring more things, achieving more goals, and doing more activities. Yet, research shows that beyond meeting basic needs, increased wealth and possessions have diminishing returns on happiness. True fulfillment comes not from having more, but from focusing on what adds value to our lives. For example, consider someone who downsizes their wardrobe to capsule pieces they love wearing. They no longer waste time deciding what to wear each day, and they feel confident knowing everything in their closet reflects their personal style. Or imagine someone who cuts back on commitments, leaving room for deep connections with loved ones rather than spreading themselves thin across superficial interactions. These choices may seem small, but their impact is profound. The benefits of simplifying. Simplifying offers benefits that ripple outward into every area of life. Here are some of the most significant advantages. 1. Reduced stress. When we simplify, we eliminate unnecessary burdens. Fewer possessions mean less maintenance, fewer decisions lead to less overwhelm, and fewer obligations create breathing room. With less to manage, we experience a sense of ease and freedom. 2. Increase focus. Clutter, whether physical, digital, or mental, distracts us from what truly matters. By clearing away the noise, we sharpen our focus on priorities. For instance, a decluttered workspace allows us to concentrate fully on important projects without visual distractions pulling our attention. 3. Greater clarity. Simplicity helps us see clearly. When we strip away excess, we uncover what aligns with our values and goals. This clarity empowers us to make intentional choices about how we spend our time, energy, and resources. 4. Enhanced relationships. By simplifying our schedules and commitments, we free up time for meaningful connection. Instead of rushing from one activity to the next, we can savor moments with loved ones, listening deeply and being fully present. 5. Environmental impact. Choosing simplicity also benefits the planet. Consuming less reduces waste, conserves resources, and minimizes environmental harm. Living simply isn't just good for us, it's good for the earth. Letting go of excess. At its heart, simplifying is about letting go not just of physical items, but also of habits, expectations, and narratives that weigh us down. Let's break this process into 3 key areas: physical space, digital clutter, and mental load. 1. Physical space. Our environments shape our minds. A cluttered home or workspace can amplify feelings of chaos and anxiety. To simplify your physical space, try these strategies. Declutter. Room by room, start small. Clear out a drawer, organize a shelf, or tidy up a corner. Gradually work your way through larger spaces. Ask yourself, does this item bring me joy? Is it useful? If not, let it go. Adopt a one-in, one-out rule. For every new item you bring into your home, remove an old one. This prevents accumulation over time. Create zones for everything. Assign specific places for belongings. For example, keys go on a hook, mail goes in a tray. Having designated spots reduces decision fatigue and keeps things organized. 2. Digital clarity. Our digital lives are often as cluttered as our physical ones. Notifications, emails, apps, and social media compete for our attention, fragmenting our focus. To simplify digitally, unsubscribe and unfollow, remove subscriptions that don't serve you, and unfollow accounts that trigger comparison or negativity. Organize files and apps. Delete unused apps, consolidate files into folders, and set up automatic backups to streamline your devices. Set boundaries. Designate tech-free times or zones in your day. For example, no phones during meals or before bed. 3. Mental load. Perhaps the most challenging form of clutter to address is mental. Overthinking, multitasking, and excessive planning drain our cognitive resources. To lighten your mental load, practice saying no. Protect your time and energy by declining requests that don't align with your priorities. Break tasks into steps. Large projects can feel overwhelming. Breaking them into smaller, manageable steps makes them easier to tackle. Write things down, offload thoughts onto paper or digital notes. This clears mental space and ensures nothing important slips through the cracks. Practical strategies for simplifying. Now that we've explored the why and what of simplifying, let's dive into actionable strategies for integrating simplicity into your daily life. 1. Identify your priorities. Begin by asking yourself, what truly matters to me? What brings me joy, fulfillment, and meaning? Once you've identified your priorities, let them guide your decisions. For example, if family is a top priority, protect your evenings for quality time together. If creativity lights you up, carve out space for artistic pursuits. 2. Conduct a life audit. Take stock of your current habits, routines, and commitments. Which ones align with your values? Which ones feel obligatory or draining? Be honest with yourself and release anything that no longer serves you. 3. Embrace slow living. Slow living is the antidote to busyness. It involves savoring moments, prioritizing presence, and resisting the urge to rush. Practice slowing down by eating meals without distractions, taking leisurely walks in nature, allowing yourself to rest without guilt. 4. Adopt a capsule wardrobe. A capsule wardrobe consists of versatile, high-quality pieces that mix and match effortlessly. Not only does this simplify getting dressed, but it also reduces decision fatigue and promotes sustainable fashion choices. 5. Simplify finances. Financial complexity can be a major source of stress. Streamline your finances by automating bill payments and savings contributions, reducing impulse purchases by implementing a 24-hour waiting rule, tracking expenses to identify areas where you can cut back. 6. Create rituals of simplicity. Rituals anchor us in simplicity and mindfulness. Examples include morning tea or coffee rituals that center you before the day begins, evening wind-down routines that signal relaxation and rest, weekly reflection sessions to assess progress and adjust course. Overcoming resistance to simplicity. Despite its benefits, simplifying can evoke resistance. Many of us fear loss of convenience, status, or identity tied to certain possessions or roles. Others worry about judgment from others. What will people think if I downsize? If you encounter resistance, here are some tips to move forward. 1. Start small. Big changes can feel intimidating. Begin with one area, your closet, your email inbox, or your schedule, and build momentum from there. 2. Reframe letting go. Instead of viewing decluttering as loss, frame it as liberation. Each item you release creates space for something new, or simply peace. 3. Focus on values. Remind yourself why you're simplifying. Connecting to your deeper motivations strengthens your resolve and keeps you grounded. 4. Celebrate progress. Acknowledge each step, no matter how small. Whether it's donating a bag of clothes or canceling an unused subscription, celebrate the act of letting go. The ripple effects of simplification. When we simplify, the effects ripple outward in surprising ways. Internally, we feel lighter, calmer, and more focused. Externally, our relationships deepen, our productivity increases, and our impact on the planet lessens. Simplicity reminds us that life is richer when we subtract what distracts us and add what nourishes us. Take a moment now to reflect on your relationship with simplicity. Where do you feel weighed down by excess? Where could you invite more clarity and ease? Simply noticing these patterns is a step toward transformation. Closing thoughts. Simplifying is a journey, not a destination. It's not about achieving perfection or living an austere existence. It's about creating a life that feels aligned, peaceful, and fulfilling. Every choice to simplify, whether it's clearing a drawer, saying no to an obligation, or pausing to breathe, is a step toward greater freedom. As we close this chapter, I invite you to take one small action toward simplifying your life today. Declutter a single surface, unsubscribe from an email list, or schedule downtime for yourself. Notice how it feels to choose less, and discover the abundance that arises from simplicity. In the next chapter, we'll explore the practice of patience and how embracing slowness can help us stop making too much of urgency. Stay tuned. Chapter 8. Practicing Patience. In this chapter, we're exploring one of the most underrated yet transformative qualities we can cultivate: patience. Patience is more than just waiting. It's a profound practice of presence, acceptance, and trust in the unfolding of life. When we embrace patience, we stop making too much of urgency and instead learn to flow with the natural rhythm of things. In our fast-paced, instant gratification culture, patience feels almost countercultural. We expect quick results, whether it's overnight success, immediate replies to texts, or same-day delivery. Yet, impatience often leads to frustration, stress, and missed opportunities for growth. By practicing patience, we create space for clarity, resilience, and deeper fulfillment. Let's dive into why patience matters so much, how it helps us navigate challenges, and practical ways to integrate it into our daily lives. Why patience matters. To understand the power of patience, let's first examine its opposite: impatience. Impatience arises when we demand that life conform to our timeline or expectations. It shows up as irritation when traffic slows us down, frustration when others don't act quickly enough, or anxiety when progress feels slow. While these reactions are natural, they amplify suffering because they stem from resistance to reality. Patience, on the other hand, invites us to meet life as it is, not as we wish it to be. It teaches us to honor the process rather than fixate on outcomes. This shift in perspective reduces tension and opens us to moments of grace and insight that might otherwise pass unnoticed. Buddhism places great emphasis on patience, Kanti considering it one of the 6 perfections, paramitas essential for spiritual development. Patience is seen as a form of strength, not weakness. It allows us to endure difficulties without losing heart, to respond to challenges with wisdom rather than reactivity, and to trust that everything unfolds in its own time. Modern psychology echoes this wisdom. Research shows that patience correlates with higher levels of well-being, better decision-making, and stronger relationships. Patient individuals are less prone to anger, impulsivity, and burnout, and more likely to experience satisfaction and contentment. But here's the key: patience isn't passive resignation. It's an active choice to stay grounded, even in the face of discomfort or delay. It's about trusting that effort, persistence, and time will yield results, even if those results aren't immediate. The science behind patience. Neuroscience and behavioral science provide fascinating insights into why patience works and how we can strengthen it. Studies reveal that patience activates the brain's prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for executive functions like planning, impulse control, and emotional regulation. Over time, practicing patience rewires our brains, making us more adept at managing stress and delaying gratification. One landmark study, the famous marshmallow test, demonstrated the long-term benefits of patience. Children who resisted eating a marshmallow in exchange for 2 later marshmallows tended to achieve greater academic success, healthier lifestyles, and stronger social skills as adults. While the test has since been critiqued for oversimplifying complex factors, its core message remains relevant. Patience fosters discipline, resilience, and long-term rewards. Additionally, patience enhances our ability to cope with uncertainty. Life rarely follows a predictable path, and many of our goals require sustained effort over time. When we practice patience, we build tolerance for ambiguity, reducing anxiety about the unknown. This skill proves invaluable during challenging transitions, whether it's starting a new job, recovering from illness, or navigating personal growth. How patience transforms our lives. Practicing patience transforms how we relate to ourselves, others, and the world around us. Let's explore some of the most significant impacts. 1. Reduced stress. Impatience triggers stress hormones like cortisol, which harm both body and mind. By cultivating patience, we calm our nervous systems, lowering blood pressure, improving sleep, and enhancing overall health. 2. Improved relationships. Patience strengthens connections by fostering empathy and understanding. Instead of reacting harshly to someone's mistakes or delays, we give them the benefit of the doubt, creating space for mutual respect and collaboration. 3. Greater resilience. Life inevitably involves setbacks and obstacles. Patience equips us to weather these storms with grace, knowing that difficulties are temporary and growth takes time. 4. Enhanced creativity. When we rush, we stifle creativity. Patience allows ideas to gestate, problems to unravel, and solutions to emerge organically. Many breakthroughs arise not from force but from patient persistence. 5. Deeper fulfillment. Instant gratification provides fleeting pleasure, while delayed gratification yields lasting satisfaction. Whether it's mastering a skill, building a meaningful relationship, or achieving a goal, patience ensures we savor the journey as much as the destination. Challenges to practicing patience. Despite its benefits, patience doesn't come easily to most of us. Here are some common barriers and how to overcome them. 1. Unrealistic expectations. We often set timelines based on ideal scenarios rather than reality. To counter this, remind yourself that progress is non-linear. Celebrate small wins along the way and trust that consistent effort will lead to results. 2. Fear of missing out. FOMO. Social media exacerbates FOMO by showcasing highlight reels of others' achievements. Combat this by focusing on your unique journey and remembering that everyone moves at their own pace. 3. Lack of trust. Impatience often stems from distrust of others, the processes, or of ourselves. Build trust by reflecting on past successes where patience paid off, reinforcing confidence in your ability to handle delays. 4. Habitual reactivity. Years of conditioned responses make patience feel unnatural at first. Start small, pause before reacting, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Gradually, patience becomes second nature. Practical strategies for cultivating patience. Now that we've explored the why behind patience, let's delve into actionable strategies for integrating it into your daily life. 1. Practice mindful breathing. When impatience arises, anchor yourself in your breath. Inhale deeply for a count of 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 4. Repeat several times until you feel calmer. This simple technique resets your nervous system and creates space for thoughtful action. 2. Reframe delays as opportunities. Instead of viewing delays as obstacles, see them as chances to pause, reflect, or prepare further. For example, if you're stuck in traffic, use the time to listen to music, meditate, or simply observe the scenery. 3. Set realistic timelines. Break large tasks into smaller steps and assign reasonable deadlines to each. This approach reduces overwhelm and builds momentum, making patience feel more attainable. 4. Embrace micro pauses. Throughout the day, insert brief pauses between activities. Before answering a text, taking a call, or starting a project, breathe deeply and center yourself. These micro pauses train your mind to slow down and respond thoughtfully. 5. Use affirmations. Create affirmations to reinforce patience during challenging moments. Examples include, I trust that everything happens in its own time. This moment is part of my journey, and I am learning. Patience brings peace. 6. Reflect on nature. Nature operates on its own timetable. Seasons change, plants grow, rivers carve paths, all without haste. Spend time observing these processes to remind yourself that everything unfolds perfectly in due course. 7. Cultivate gratitude for waiting. Turn waiting into a gratitude practice. For instance, while standing in line, appreciate the opportunity to rest, people watch, or mentally review your day. Shifting your mindset transforms frustration into appreciation, overcoming resistance to patience. Sometimes practicing patience feels impossible, especially when stakes are high or emotions run strong. If you find yourself struggling, remember these principles. 1. Acknowledge your feelings. It's okay to feel impatient. Suppressing emotions only intensifies them. Instead, acknowledge your frustration, then gently redirect your focus to what you can control. 2. Focus on what you can do. While waiting, channel your energy into productive actions. Study, plan, organize, or engage in creative pursuits. Staying active reduces feelings of helplessness. 3. Visualize success. Imagine the outcome you desire and remind yourself why patience is worth it. Visualization reinforces motivation and reminds you of the bigger picture. The ripple effects of patience. When we practice patience, its benefits extend far beyond ourselves. Internally, we cultivate calm, resilience, and wisdom. Externally, we inspire others to adopt similar qualities, fostering harmony and understanding in our interactions. Patience also aligns us with universal rhythms, reminding us that life operates on a grander scale than our individual timelines. Ultimately, patience teaches us to surrender control not out of defeat, but out of trust. It invites us to release attachment to specific outcomes and embrace the beauty of unfolding possibilities. Take a moment now to reflect on your relationship with patience. Where do you struggle with impatience? Where could you invite more slowness and trust? Simply noticing these patterns is a step toward transformation. Closing thoughts. Practicing patience is a lifelong journey, one that requires awareness, effort, and compassion. There will be days when it flows effortlessly and days when it feels impossibly hard. But every effort counts. Every moment of patience adds to the tapestry of a life lived fully and joyfully. As we close this chapter, I invite you to commit to one small act of patience today. Pause before reacting, breathe through frustration, or remind yourself that progress takes time. Let this be the beginning of a practice that enriches your life and the lives of those around you. In the next chapter, we'll explore how finding joy in the ordinary can help us stop making too much of scarcity and instead celebrate the abundance of everyday moments. Stay tuned. Chapter 9: Finding Joy in the Ordinary. In this chapter, we're diving into one of the most accessible yet overlooked sources of happiness: finding joy in the ordinary. Life's magic often hides in plain sight, in the small, seemingly mundane moments that make up our days. When we learn to savor these moments, we stop making too much of scarcity and instead celebrate the abundance that already exists. In a world obsessed with extraordinary achievements, exotic vacations, and Instagram-worthy highlights, it's easy to overlook the beauty of everyday life. Yet research shows that true fulfillment comes not from chasing grand experiences, but from appreciating the simplicity of the present moment. By training ourselves to notice and cherish the ordinary, we cultivate a deep sense of contentment that sustains us through life's ups and downs. Let's explore why finding joy in the ordinary matters so much, how it helps us reframe our experiences, and practical ways to integrate this practice into your daily life. Why joy in the ordinary matters. To understand the transformative power of finding joy in the ordinary, let's first examine why it's so impactful. At its core, this practice shifts our focus from what's missing to what's already here. It reminds us that happiness isn't something we need to seek outside ourselves. It's available in every breath, every sip of tea, every ray of sunlight. Think about it. How often do we rush through our days, barely registering the richness around us? We gulp down meals without tasting them, scroll through phones during conversations, and skim past moments that could bring us peace if only we paid attention. By slowing down and tuning in, we discover that joy doesn't require special circumstances. It's woven into the fabric of everyday life. Buddhism offers profound insights into this truth. One of the central teachings of Buddhism is mindfulness, the art of being fully present with whatever is happening right now. Mindfulness invites us to see the sacred in the simple, the extraordinary in the ordinary. Whether it's washing dishes, walking in nature, or listening to birdsong, every activity becomes an opportunity for connection and wonder. Modern psychology supports this perspective. Studies show that people who practice savoring the intentional appreciation of positive experiences report higher levels of well-being, resilience, and satisfaction. Savoring trains our brains to notice and amplify goodness, creating a virtuous cycle of positivity. But here's the key. Finding joy in the ordinary isn't about ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It's about noticing the silver linings even amid difficulties. For example, someone stuck in traffic might feel frustrated, but they could also appreciate the chance to listen to their favorite podcast or watch a stunning sunset reflected in their rearview mirror. This dual awareness fosters balance and perspective. How joy in the ordinary transforms our lives. When we choose to find joy in the ordinary, the effects ripple outward in surprising ways. Let's explore some of the most significant impacts. 1. Increased contentment. By focusing on what's already good in our lives, we reduce cravings for more. Instead of constantly seeking external validation or material possessions, we cultivate inner satisfaction. 2. Reduce stress. Savoring small pleasures interrupts cycles of worry and overwhelm. When we pause to enjoy a cup of tea or admire a flower, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting relaxation and calm. 3. Enhanced gratitude. Finding joy in the ordinary naturally amplifies gratitude. As we notice and appreciate life's details, we develop a habit of thankfulness that enriches every area of our lives. 4. Greater presence. Joy in the ordinary anchors us in the here and now. It pulls us out of overthinking and into the tangible reality of the moment, fostering mindfulness and clarity. 5. Deeper connections. When we slow down and savor shared experiences, like laughing with friends, cooking a meal together, or simply sitting quietly, we strengthen our bonds with others. These moments become cherished memories that sustain relationships over time. The science behind joy in the ordinary. Research highlights several mechanisms through which finding joy in the ordinary enhances well-being. 1. Positive emotion amplification. Savoring intensifies positive emotions, making them last longer and feel more meaningful. For example, taking time to relish a delicious dessert increases pleasure beyond the initial taste sensation. 2. Neural rewiring. Practicing joy rewires our brains, reinforcing pathways associated with happiness and optimism. Over time, our default mode shifts from negativity bias to positivity bias. 3. Stress reduction. Focusing on pleasant stimuli lowers cortisol levels, reducing inflammation and improving overall health. Even brief moments of joy can have cumulative benefits. 4. Flow states. Engaging deeply with ordinary activities like gardening, painting, or playing music can induce flow, a state of complete absorption and fulfillment. Flow boosts creativity, productivity, and satisfaction. 5. Social bonding. Shared joy strengthens social connections by releasing oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Laughing together, celebrating milestones, or enjoying hobbies as a group fosters trust and belonging. Practical strategies for finding joy in the ordinary. Now that we've explored the why behind finding joy in the ordinary, let's delve into actionable strategies for integrating this practice into your daily life. 1. Slow down. Rushing diminishes our ability to notice joy. Practice slowing down by eating meals without distractions, savoring each bite. Taking leisurely walks, observing sights, sounds, and textures. Pausing to breathe deeply before starting tasks. 2. Engage your senses. Our senses are gateways to joy. Tune into them intentionally. Notice the aroma of fresh flowers or rain-soaked earth. Feel the warmth of sunlight on your skin or the softness of a blanket. Listen closely to birdsong, laughter, or the rustle of leaves. 3. Create rituals of joy. Build routines that celebrate the ordinary. Start your day with a mindful cup of tea or coffee. End evenings with journaling or gratitude reflections. Set aside time for hobbies you love, whether it's reading, drawing, or baking. 4. Reframe mundane tasks. Turn chores into opportunities for mindfulness. While washing dishes, focus on the sensation of water and soap. During laundry, notice colors, textures, and scents. While commuting, play uplifting music or podcasts. 5. Celebrate small wins. Acknowledge and celebrate tiny victories. Completing a workout, finishing a book, or tidying a room. Reward yourself with something you enjoy, a treat, a nap, or a favorite song. 6. Cultivate curiosity. Approach everyday experiences with fresh eyes. Ask questions like, what's unique about today? Or, what am I grateful for right now? Notice changes in weather, seasons, or surroundings. 7. Share moments of joy. Spread joy by sharing it with others. Send a thoughtful text or call a friend just to check in. Compliment strangers or express thanks to service workers. Plan simple gatherings like picnics or game nights to connect meaningfully. Overcoming barriers to joy in the ordinary. Despite its accessibility, finding joy in the ordinary can face resistance. Here are some common barriers and how to overcome them. 1. Habitual negativity. Years of negative thinking can dull our ability to notice joy. Counteract this by deliberately seeking positivity, for example, writing down 3 joyful moments each day. 2. Comparison trap. Social media often fuels envy by showcasing others' highlight reels. Limit exposure or curate your feed to include inspiring, authentic content. Remind yourself that everyone has struggles regardless of appearances. 3. Busyness and distraction. Constant multitasking fragments attention, leaving little room for joy. Prioritize presence by setting boundaries around technology and carving out uninterrupted time for reflection. 4. Fear of boredom. Some people equate ordinariness with boredom. Challenge this belief by exploring new dimensions of familiar activities. Try a different recipe, take a new route home, or experiment with creative outlets. The ripple effects of finding joy in the ordinary. When we embrace joy in the ordinary, its impact extends far beyond ourselves. Internally, we cultivate peace, resilience, and optimism. Externally, we inspire others to adopt similar practices, fostering kindness and connection. Joy in the ordinary also aligns us with universal rhythms, reminding us that life's treasures are often hidden in plain sight. Ultimately, this practice teaches us to trust that happiness doesn't depend on external conditions. It's always within reach, waiting to be uncovered. Take a moment now to reflect on your relationship with joy. Where do you naturally find delight? Where could you invite more awareness and appreciation? Simply noticing these patterns is a step toward transformation. Closing thoughts. Finding joy in the ordinary is a gift, one that keeps giving long after the moment passes. It requires no special tools, no extravagant plans, no dramatic shifts, All it asks is that we pay attention, soften our hearts, and open ourselves to the beauty of the present moment. As we close this chapter, I invite you to commit to one small act of joy today. Sip your drink slowly, linger in a hug a bit longer, or marvel at the stars in the night sky. Let this be the beginning of a practice that enriches your life and the lives of those around you. In the next chapter, we'll explore how building a sustainable mindfulness practice can help us stop making too much of inconsistency and instead create lasting habits of peace and presence. Stay tuned. Chapter 10: Building a Sustainable Practice. In this final chapter, we're diving into one of the most essential aspects of personal growth: building a sustainable practice. Whether it's mindfulness, meditation, gratitude, or any other tool we've explored in this video, consistency is key. Yet many of us struggle to turn these practices into lasting habits. Life gets busy, motivation wanes, and before we know it, our efforts fizzle out. Today we'll explore how to create routines that stick, not because they're perfect or intense, but because they're realistic, adaptable, and aligned with your life. By focusing on sustainability rather than perfection, you can stop making too much of inconsistency and instead build practices that nurture you over the long term. Why sustainability matters. To understand why sustainability is so crucial, let's first examine what happens when we don't prioritize it. Many people start with enthusiasm. They dive headfirst into new habits, committing to hours of meditation, daily journaling, or rigorous decluttering. At first, the results feel exhilarating, but without a solid foundation, these efforts often collapse under the weight of unrealistic expectations. Sustainability flips this script. It emphasizes progress over perfection, small steps over grand gestures, and flexibility over rigidity. When we focus on sustainability, we design practices that fit seamlessly into our lives, leaving room for imperfection and adaptation. This approach ensures that even on tough days or during chaotic seasons, we can maintain momentum without burning out. Buddhism offers profound wisdom on this topic. One of its core teachings is the middle way, a path of moderation that avoids extremes of indulgence and asceticism. Applied to habit building, the middle way encourages us to find balance between discipline and self-compassion. We commit to showing up consistently while also forgiving ourselves for setbacks. Modern psychology echoes this principle. Research shows that sustainable habits are built through incremental changes in environmental cues and intrinsic motivation. By aligning our practices with who we are and what we value, we increase the likelihood of sticking with them. But here's the key. Sustainability isn't about doing everything right. It's about doing enough consistently. Even tiny actions repeated over time compound into transformative outcomes. The science behind sustainable habits. Let's delve deeper into why some habits stick while others fade. Behavioral science provides valuable insights into the mechanics of habit formation. 1. Habit loops. Habits operate on a three-part loop: cue, routine, reward. For example, if you want to meditate every morning, your cue might be waking up. Your routine could be sitting quietly for 5 minutes, and your reward could be the sense of calm afterward. Strengthening this loop makes habits automatic over time. 2. Environmental design. Our surroundings shape our behavior more than we realize. Placing reminders like a meditation cushion in plain sight or a gratitude journal on your nightstand makes it easier to follow through. Conversely, removing obstacles like silencing your phone during practice reduces friction. 3. Identity alignment. When habits align with our sense of identity, they become non-negotiable. For instance, seeing yourself as someone who values presence reinforces your commitment to mindfulness. Reflect regularly on how your practices reflect your values and aspirations. 4. Tiny wins. Big goals can feel overwhelming, leading to procrastination or abandonment. Breaking them into micro steps creates a sense of accomplishment early on. For example, instead of aiming for 30 minutes of meditation, start with just 2 minutes. gradually increase as comfort grows. And 5. Accountability systems. Sharing your intentions with others increases accountability, whether it's joining a community, partnering with a friend, or tracking progress in an app. External support boosts motivation and resilience. Practical strategies for building a sustainable practice. Now that we've explored the why behind sustainability, let's dive into actionable strategies for integrating mindfulness and related practices into your daily life. 1. Start small. Begin with manageable actions that require minimal effort. Examples include taking 3 deep breaths upon waking, writing down one thing you're grateful for each day, pausing for 30 seconds to notice your surroundings. Small, which build confidence and momentum, paving the way for larger commitments. 2. Anchor practices to existing routines. Link new habits to established ones to reduce decision fatigue. For example, meditate immediately after brushing your teeth. Reflect on your day while drinking your morning coffee. Stretch briefly after dinner. These anchors serve as reliable triggers, ensuring consistency. 3. Create a dedicated space. Designate a specific area for your practice, a cozy corner, a quiet room, or even a favorite chair. Surround it with items that inspire you, like candles, plants, or meaningful objects. A designated space primes your mind for focus and relaxation. 4. Set realistic goals. Be honest about what you can sustain given your current circumstances. If mornings are hectic, consider practicing in the evening. If time is limited, opt for shorter sessions. Flexibility prevents overwhelm and fosters longevity. 5. Track your progress. Use a journal, calendar, or app to monitor your efforts. Seeing streaks of consistency reinforces commitment and highlights areas for improvement. Celebrate milestones, no matter how modest. 6. Embrace imperfection. Missed a session? Don't panic. Self-criticism undermines sustainability. Instead, acknowledge the lapse kindly and return to your practice the next day. Remember, consistency, not perfection, is the goal. 7. Mix it up. Variety keeps practices fresh and engaging. Alternate between different forms of mindfulness, such as breathing exercises, body scans, or mindful walking. Explore creative outlets like drawing, writing, or photography to complement traditional techniques. 8. Cultivate intrinsic motivation. Reflect on why these practices matter to you personally. Do they bring peace, boost creativity, strengthen relationships? Connecting to your why fuels long-term dedication. 9. Leverage technology wisely. Apps and online resources can provide structure and guidance, but use them mindfully. Avoid over-reliance by balancing digital tools with offline experiences. 10. Celebrate the journey. Recognize that building a sustainable practice is itself a form of growth. Each step forward contributes to greater awareness, resilience, and fulfillment. Savor the process rather than fixating solely on outcomes. Overcoming resistance to sustainability. Even with the best intentions, resistance can arise. Here are some common challenges and how to navigate them. 1. Lack of time. Many people cite busyness as a barrier. Counteract this by redefining priorities. Ask yourself, what activities truly nourish me? Can I replace less fulfilling tasks with moments of mindfulness? 2. Impatience for results. Change takes time, and expecting immediate benefits sets us up for disappointment. Remind yourself that small, consistent actions yield significant results over months and years. 3. Burnout. Pushing too hard leads to exhaustion. Prioritize rest and self-care alongside your practices. Listen to your body and adjust accordingly. 4. Comparison. Comparing your journey to others can breed frustration. Focus on your unique path and celebrate your individual progress. 5. Plateaus. Growth isn't linear, plateaus are normal. Use these periods to refine your approach, experiment with new techniques, or simply rest and recharge. The ripple effects of sustainable practices. When we commit to sustainable practices, their impact extends far beyond ourselves. Internally, we cultivate stability, clarity, and resilience. Externally, we inspire others to adopt similar habits, fostering collective well-being. These practices also deepen our connection to the present moment, reminding us that life unfolds one breath, one step, one heartbeat at a time. Ultimately, sustainability teaches us to trust the process, to embrace uncertainty, honor imperfection, and persist despite obstacles. It invites us to see that transformation isn't about dramatic leaps, but about steady, intentional movement toward wholeness. Take a moment now to reflect on your relationship with sustainability. Where do you excel at consistency? Where could you invite more patience and adaptability? Simply noticing these patterns is a step toward transformation. Closing thoughts. Building a sustainable practice is a lifelong journey, one that evolves as we grow and change. There will be days when it feels effortless and days when it feels impossibly hard, but every effort counts. Every moment of presence adds to the tapestry of a life lived fully and joyfully. As we close this chapter and this video, I invite you to commit to one small action today. Choose something simple yet meaningful, something you can sustain over time. Let this be the beginning of a practice that enriches your life and the lives of those around you. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of how Buddhism, meditation, and mindfulness can help us stop making too much of everything. May these tools guide you toward greater peace, clarity, and fulfillment. And remember, you don't have to do it all perfectly. You just need to keep showing up again and again with kindness and curiosity. Stay tuned for more content on the Mindful Zone, where we continue to explore ways to live with intention and joy. Until next time, may you find ease in every breath, joy in every moment, and peace in your heart. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want to take a moment to thank you for being here, for showing up, for listening deeply, and for committing to explore ways to stop making too much of everything. This exploration has been about more than just learning new tools or techniques. It's been an invitation to slow down, to soften, and to reconnect with the essence of who you are. Over the past hour, we've traveled through 10 chapters, each offering a unique perspective on how Buddhism, meditation, and mindfulness can guide us toward greater peace and clarity. From understanding why we make things bigger than they are, to embracing impermanence, cultivating compassion, simplifying our lives, and finding joy in the ordinary, these teachings remind us that transformation doesn't require grand gestures. It begins with small, intentional shifts. One of my favorite insights from today is that so much of our stress and overwhelm stems not from external circumstances, but from the stories we tell ourselves. When we cling to perfectionism, resist change, or dwell on what's missing, we amplify suffering unnecessarily. But when we choose presence, gratitude, and patience, we create space for ease and fulfillment to emerge naturally. These practices aren't quick fixes, they're lifelong companions, guiding us through life's inevitable ups and downs with grace and resilience. If there's one takeaway I hope you carry forward, it's this. You don't need to have everything figured out to begin living more fully. Progress isn't linear, and growth isn't always visible. But every step you take matters. Whether it's pausing to breathe during a hectic day, letting go of something that no longer serves you, or simply noticing the beauty around you, each act of awareness plants seeds of change. Over time, those seeds grow into habits, perspectives, and ways of being that enrich your life in profound ways. I also want to acknowledge that integrating these practices won't always be easy. There will be days when old patterns resurface, when distractions pull you away, or when life feels too overwhelming to focus on anything beyond survival, and that's okay. What matters most isn't avoiding setbacks, it's choosing to return again and again to the tools and values that sustain you. Self-compassion is key here. Treat yourself with kindness, knowing that growth takes time and effort. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small, and forgive yourself for moments of struggle. Remember too that you're not alone on this path. Communities like the Mindful Zone exist to support and inspire you. If you found value in this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who might benefit. Together, we can create ripples of positivity and connection that extend far beyond ourselves. Before we part ways, I'd like to leave you with a gentle reminder. Life is happening right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, but in this very moment. While planning and striving have their place, true fulfillment comes from savoring the present. So, whether you're washing dishes, walking in nature, or sitting quietly with your thoughts, bring your full attention to the experience. Let it ground you, nourish you, and remind you of the abundance that already exists in your life. Finally, I invite you to reflect on one question. What's one thing you'll carry forward from today? Perhaps it's a commitment to practice gratitude, or willingness to embrace imperfection, or simply a reminder to pause and breathe. Whatever it is, let it be a beacon, a guiding light that helps you navigate life with greater intention and joy. Thank you once again for joining me on this journey. Your presence here means the world, and I'm honored to share this space with you. Until next time, may you find ease in every breath, joy in every moment, and peace in your heart. Namaste.